Welcome. I'm Kathy Garrity from Quincy Votes, and along with Jaya Savita, I from Asian Pacific Islanders Civic Action Network, we welcome you to the City at Large Candidate Forum. We thank you all for your participation this evening. And to start things off, I'd like to thank John and the folks at QATV, as well as the volunteers here this evening to make this, provide us the space as well as the technology to make this happen. So thank you. Prior to the process and questions in outlining the forum, Jaya and I are going to outline our nonprofit organization so folks understand what it is that we do. So as I mentioned, I'm from Quincy Votes. Our organization was started in 2021 following an election that had just 17% of the registered voters actually cast their ballot. So Quincy Votes' mission is to educate, to make sure folks have the right information, as well as the importance of voting. So we'll talk a little bit about our initiative later, but Quincy Vote, we're committed to providing objective and unbiased information for the voters. We're impartial in that regard. So in preparation for the November 4th election, I encourage you to go to quincyvotes.org. There's a lot of information there in regards to this upcoming election, as well as questionnaires that have been completed by the various candidates. Not only our at-large candidates, but also school committee and the various wards. So our goal for the 2025 election cycle is really focused on Ward 6, Precinct 2. All right, that is one of the lowest precincts in the city for registered voters actually getting out the vote. So we're trying a couple of different approaches to really understand what works. Mailing postcards, door knocking. So we're looking forward to seeing the fruits of our efforts come November 4th. But our message is loud and clear. Get out and vote. Now I'll turn it over to Jaya, who will outline the missions and goals of APIsCAN.
Thanks, Kathy. Hi, everyone. My name is Jaya Savita, and I'm the Executive Director of the Asian Pacific Islanders Civic Action Network, or APIsCAN. We're a statewide coalition of working class and AAPI serving nonprofits from across the Commonwealth. And we are committed and focused on nonpartisan civic engagement, Pan-Asian solidarity building, and advocacy for our working class and immigrant AAPI community here in Massachusetts. I'm so happy to partner with Quincy Votes for the second time on a candidate forum because this is a critical way for voters to learn about you all as candidates, and a great way for us to ask critical questions facing Quincy residents and community members. APIsCAN was founded in 2016 as a result of the 2016 elections, and really was a space, was identified as a space to mobilize and engage AAPI community members, initially in the Boston area and then expanding outside of the city to include Quincy, Central Mass, Western Mass, the North and South Shores. And we're committed to engaging our communities of working class, Asian American, Pacific Islander, working class immigrant communities here. And part of that is not only making sure people get out to vote, but also making sure that elections are fair and accessible. So we'll also be doing poll monitoring in Quincy to make sure that all voters in Quincy have their rights protected when they go to the polls this November. So I'll pass it back over to Kathy.
Thanks, Jaya. Appreciate it. All right, let's talk a little bit about how the forum came to be. So as I mentioned, we are focused in terms of Ward 6, Precinct 2. So we did hold a candidates night prior to the preliminary election. The response we received both via views on that video, which at this point I think it's over 500, as well as emails and folks talking on social media about the Quincy Votes website and how helpful it is. And then after the preliminary, and that was a quick turnaround to try to get that together, but after that preliminary election, we started to receive additional inquiries, both for you folks in terms of the at-large, as well as a Ward 6 forum. So that's kind of how this all came to be. So we solicited questions from the city residents and received over 50 questions. So a fraction of what we received is what we'll be asking you this evening. One item I did want to address is, unfortunately, Noel DiBona had a family emergency and wasn't able to join us, but we did want to thank Noel for all he does to get out the vote. So we hope everything's okay there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the forum and how this is going to shape up. So you're seated in alphabetical order, in case you didn't realize that. But we're going to start with opening statements. And so Scott, you'll kick us off. The opening statements for each candidate will be 2 minutes. We have Shiv, our timekeeper here, who'll ring the bell when you have 30 seconds left. Okay, just so you have time to wrap up, and then she'll ring the bell again when the 2 minutes is over. That same format will follow for the closing statements. But so after the opening statements, we'll proceed, and Anne, you'll have the first question, and then all of you get to answer that question, and then we'll go to Andy there, and for the second question, Alie for the third, Susan for the fourth, and then we'll close it off with closing statements. We'll figure out that then. Anyway. So for the questions, there'll be a 3-minute maximum, and again, Shiv will ring our bell. All right, so I think without further ado, let us ask the questions. Oh, no, we'll do the opening statements. Excuse me. Scott, keep me on track, yeah?
That's great.
So,
good to go.
Yes, please.
Great. Well, thank you, Kathy and JF, for having us here today. I think this is an important event. I think it's really important to get out in front and most importantly, get the vote out. And I think the efforts that you're doing are extremely important, and I applaud you because I think everybody at this table is here for the right reasons, and we are here to make Quincy the best that it can be. The way I introduce myself, I am a finishing my first term consul at large for the city of Quincy. I started back in 2023, and it has been a whirlwind and something that I've really enjoyed. I spent the early part of my career in telecommunications, actually started at Network Plus, which is the company before Granite Communications, so I've been around here for a long time. I grew up in Southwest Quincy. I'm the youngest of 8 kids, and I met my wife in high school, our high school sweethearts, and we have a recent graduate of Quincy High School and one who's starting her freshman year. Our 2 daughters, we live in House Neck. As I said, I started in telecommunications, worked my way into state government. I woke up one day and realized I wasn't making enough of a difference. And that's when I started at the Treasury. I was the constituency affairs person, and I worked as the chief of staff and the deputy treasurer. Had a lot of experience in bonding, cash, retirement, and so forth. So a lot of what prepared me for this job. I have now realized that it's very quick to go 3 minutes, but the best job I ever had was a constituency service because it allowed me to find ways to help people that otherwise weren't able to get the help. And I think that's helped me immensely in my job here as a council at large, and I'm really looking forward to continuing on and being a council at large for the ongoing future. So
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And Deanne.
So thank you very much, Kathy and Jay, for having us here tonight. Thank you to Quincy Votes for putting this on QATV. I'm Ann Mahoney. My experience in Quincy goes back a long time. I was elected first to the school committee. I served on the school committee for 12 years, and I was on the council as a council at large for 6 years, and I'm looking to return to the council to be a councilor at large. What brought me to run for office was my 3 kids. I was born and raised here in Quincy, and I was very lucky to convince my husband that we should buy my great-grandparents' house and live in West Quincy, and I've been very proud homeowner of that home for the last 30 years. With the luxury of living down the street from my parents. So sadly, my parents are both gone and we are having to sell the house now, but it's still an incredible community to raise a family in. And all 3 of my kids have graduated from the Quincy Public Schools and they have gone on to do great things. And I'd like to think I graduated from the Quincy Public Schools and went on to do great things. I ran my own business, I traveled internationally for business, I worked in the private sector, and now I work as a town administrator in a neighboring community. And it's a learning curve, let me say. It's a totally different way of governing is by a select board. But the long story of reason why I'm coming back is I also ran for mayor. And one of the things that I did offer when I ran for mayor, and I conceded I didn't win, it's perfectly a normal situation, it is what democracy is about, was offering what that other 47% was looking for in Quincy. And you know, it wasn't taken up. And what I've seen in the last 2 years is that void that's been happening because people's voices are not being heard and people feel disenfranchised. And that's what brought me back into this race. That, and because there were so many people running for office, and I really do think it's a great opportunity for the city of Quincy to have choice. So I'm hoping that we can bring people out and vote on November 4th, and I hope you vote for me as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Andrew.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrew Pham. I am a certified public accountant and born and raised here in the city of Quincy. And I guess I'm just really grateful to be here right now because if I were in Vietnam, I would have had to been born in the right family or pay a bribe. And thankfully, in the last preliminary election, I saw 1,617 voters to support me, and I hope to get more support as well. Instead of chasing girls and internet fame, a decade ago, I chose to chase learning opportunities, and I got my start at Duncan Global Headquarters in internal controls, where preventing fraud, waste, and abuse was foundational to my accounting knowledge, and I used that experience to chase more opportunities at PricewaterhouseCoopers, where I was assigned on teams that served the largest clients in the world. To name some was State Street Bank, even Granite Telecom, and ultra high net worth individuals in the Boston area. And from there, I was recruited to federal service as a cross-borders activities agent at the US Treasury. And I was trained to ask questions and to poke and prod to see why are you doing things and are you keeping the profits in America instead of the Cayman Islands? And recently, a new opportunity came where I was given an opportunity to work at a national art consulting firm. And this gave me a chance to meet people that I've never talked to ever. And these include local artists, architects, developers, and consultants. And people who are shaping Boston's skyline as we speak. And with the mayor's development and focus on Quincy Center, I sit at an interesting spot right now to ensure that Quincy stays beautiful. And that I hope to use my accounting, internal controls background, and my public art to remind everyone that there is a lot more to public art than just statues. Thanks.
Thank you. And Alie.
Kathy, thank you very much. Gia, Quincy Access TV, Quincy Votes, I applaud your efforts. I mean, as we all know, the primary, we only brought out 9.7% of 64 or 68,000 registered voters in the city of Quincy. That's pretty sad. So the first thing I would say is thank you for your efforts. I hope it works out well. I hope that more people vote. I hope they vote for me. But even if they don't vote for me, I hope more people vote because we really have to stay engaged. democracy doesn't work unless we have people voting, right? So when we're learning that, you guys learned it the hard way, we're learning it as well. So my name is Alie Shaughnessy. I own a business, a crane business. I come from the crane business background. My family had Shaughnessy Crane Service. My grandfather had Shaughnessy and Ahern. My grandfather, my father, my mother, all born and raised in Quincy. I was born in Braintree, but I actually lived in Quincy and Braintree at the same time. I had a great childhood because I could go to school, and then after school I could go over to Quincy and go sailing. So that's kind of how I grew up in Quincy. I've been here now for 43 years. I have a house in Squantum. I have 3 grown children. One's a nurse over at Mass General. That's my Lindsay. Haley is at Atherton House. She's a teacher. And my son AJ, he works with me in the business, in the crane business. I started another crane business called Alie Crane Service. The reason that I'm running for politics or for council at large in Quincy, I've been involved with the city for a long time. I held signs for Walter Hannon many years ago when I was probably 12 years old, and Jim Sheets and so forth. And I just really want to give back to the city that's given me so much, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I love the city. Win, lose, or draw, I'm going to stay right here, so you won't get rid of me very easily.
Thanks, Alie. Appreciate it. And Susan.
Hello, I'm Ziqiang Susan Yuan. This is my first time to run public office. From the very beginning, my campaign has never been about myself. Last year, September 9th, a large group of residents, including me, standing outside of City Hall, chanted for an hour, vote them out, while councillors inside still refused to give a single public hearing about the mayor's 79% pay raise and themselves 59% pay raise. That was the moment my mission began. I want to hold accountable those councillors who stopped listening to their constituents. I asked many people to encourage them run for city council, and after I see no one seemed really to run, I made a decision to jump into the ring myself, because I want to use my running to inspire more people, stand up and serve. And I'm willing to pave the path for more newcomers who care about our city and want to bring their fresh energy and ideas to help make Quincy a place where a place is fair, vibrant, and accountable for everyone. And I came to the US in 1999 for postdoctoral research at the University of Vermont, and I have called Quincy home for 14 years. I have held dearly in my heart the value American people have taught me, that elected officials are public servants. And I thanks to everyone who supported me in the preliminary, and sorry,
No, that's good. We're good.
I deeply appreciate their trust. I would be honored to earn their trust again and serve them.
Very good. Thank you, Noel. Good. All right. So we'll move into the question section. All right. And again, these were questions submitted by city residents, and thank you, city residents, for participating in this process. Anne, we'll start off with you. In what way do you find public hearings useful? What would you do to ensure all voices are heard and that public hearings are held in as an effective way as possible?
So I do find public hearings are extremely helpful, and they are in our charter. We should be having more of them. When I was on the council and when I was in a leadership role in the council, I did have public forums. We had one of the largest public forums when we had people come out to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, to share their stories, and it was moving, and it really helps direct the decisions that we're making in government for the people who live in our community. And when you don't have access to that, it disenfranchises people. So when you hear Susan talking about, coming out about the salary and not being heard and not being able to talk and not having a public hearing about that, it turned into a movement, and we're seeing that play out in the papers right now. When you're not disclosing how we're spending money to the city council and it comes out in the paper, you're seeing a movement. People are not happy with the government because we're not able to speak. Public forums should be part of it, and even in neighboring communities, other communities do it in different ways. They have it at every meeting in some situations, but we could have in Quincy, and if I get into the city council, I will ask that at the first meeting of every month that we have an opportunity for people to come up and speak to us, because it's important. We can actually make better decisions as elected officials, and we can make the projects that are coming from the administration, our strong mayor, into the council better by hearing. The fact that we're not listening to people right now is creating a real divide in our community, and people are really upset. And it's also showing up when you talk about low voter turnout. It's showing up in that area too, because when people feel disenfranchised, they don't come out because they're not being heard. So what's the point? But the point is they have choices and they should come out, and the only way we can change that is by engaging with people. So I truly do believe that public forums are an important part of being able to have a full communication to the people that we're supposed to be representing. That's why I ran for office. I'll go back to the reason why I ran for school committee was because when I called and asked questions, I was being told that's what we wanted, and I thought, that's interesting because nobody's ever asked me what I wanted. And that's how I got into government, because I wanted to be able to join the participation of the conversation and be able to help people navigate through the systems that we call our government, and then give people a place to be able to speak. And that's what's missing now.
Thank you, Ann. And Andrew? Same question. Do you want me to repeat it?
No, I think I got it. I think
Awesome.
just to piggyback off of Ann, I agree with all of her points. Public hearing is what makes democracy a democracy. And lately, every city council meeting I go to is a learning opportunity for me, especially as a first-time runner. And hearing the public's comments is almost necessary because it keeps everyone in check. And the city of Quincy, we have a lot of smart people. We supply the greater Boston area with a lot of human capital. And if someone takes time out of their busy day to show up and put themselves on the mic, they deserve to be heard. And lately, we haven't been seeing that at any of the city council meetings. And what do you have instead? People really angry with signs. And that's like a reflection of current city leadership right now. And that's why there are fresh challengers here today.
Thank you. Alie,
Yep, I'm up.
you're up.
All right, so to Ann and to Andrew as well, jumping right on that one. I mean, it's right in our Constitution, right? We the people to form a more perfect union. Well, that requires communications. Communications is transparency. Communication is public meetings. Now, the city of Quincy, we already have in place, right? We have our Quincy Access TV as well, but we have other means, social media now today as well. And we should, and in our charter, as Ann pointed out, we should have public meetings so that the public can address the elected officials that are up there doing our representing, right? So I'm all for it. I think that it has to really start at the top. I think the administration should be the leader to say we got to have these public meetings, and our city councils as well should be insisting upon it. And once a month, certainly I think would be adequate. We can't do a public hearing, I don't think, on every meeting because it's a city and it's a large. I mean, with a population over 100,000 people, if everybody got a chance to talk, which they should come up when they're at allotted time and not do it at every single council meeting. The meetings would draw on for nights and nights. But if it's set up on a calendar, people know what's going to happen. They can address it via social media, or they can go there in public, be there. All for it. Standard, make it happen every time, once a month. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Susan?
Public hearing is supposed to be one of the most important ways people get their voice to be heard. But honestly, I haven't feel much helpful of the public hearing at the current city council meetings, because no matter how significant disagreement and the concerns people raised, the city councilors just rushed to make a decision right on the spot without taking time to digest people's opinions or do some additional research. Or they just return next meeting and just go through it without informing people the update in between. Also, I feel like public hearings, residents should be well informed and well ahead of the public hearings, so they will have time to consider about it and discussing with their family members and the neighbors, and maybe do some research. Residents are busy with works and families. If they come to city council to give a speech, that means they really have something to say. So we should appreciate and respect their effort and don't shut off their microphone. That happened, unfortunately, before. Also, I suggest we should let people also can read comments or questions of others who couldn't make it to the public hearing. That practice was existed in school committee meetings, but was unfortunately removed. I would like to restore that idea to city council hearings. And I think by really give residents time and talk to them, engage them, and can actively discussing with them, that can make a public hearing more effective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Scott?
Thank you. I guess as the only sitting councilor right now, I think the easy answer would be, of course, that we should we have, but I really do believe that that's how it should be. I think that we have seen a movement that has gone on over the past 2 years, even since I've been there. It's really been an active group of people that I met with Susan and Kathy at a Panera last year when the concern over the raises were out there, and it was something that I had my position. I had what I felt was comfortable, and I explained my side, and I felt like we had a good conversation. I think it was over 2 hours we sat at the Panera, and I enjoyed the conversation. I made a rule with myself and with my family that I return every voicemail, every phone call, every text, whatever I receive. Sometimes a little late, Kathy, but I do my best to really respond to every one of them. And even if they come in, and you can tell when they're kind of a chain group there. And I actually spoke to a woman on Saturday who was very concerned about just the rubber stamping that goes on. And quite frankly, I kind of take offense to that, because there's no such thing as a 100% yes or a 100% no. There is a lot of thought that goes into every decision, and I don't believe in taking symbolic votes. I think that if I'm going to be elected to come here, I want to represent people in a way that I make sure that I am being thoughtful and making what I think is the best decision for what the people that are looking out for. And in those ways, I think that I'm better for it. I'm 100% in favor of having open forum, office hours, whatever it takes. I'm open to whatever it is for people to listen. I'm the new guy on the block here when it comes to the council, but I also believe that we're here for a purpose. And if we are open and honest and keep the conversation going, I think that sometimes I can you'd be able to sleep at night in what we're doing. So for me, I'm all for it, and I hope that that's something we do get to, and I'd be in great support of it next year.
Terrific. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you all. That's great to hear, right? Because that, we said we received over 50 questions. There were so many questions on that topic. So thank you again.
So I'll be reading question 2, and it'll start with you, Andy. With the city being approximately $1.6 billion in debt, and understanding that 65% of the city's revenue is derived from residential property tax payments. And in April of this year, the S&P revised Quincy's debt outlook from stable to negative. citing financial uncertainty. How would you prioritize funding between essential services like public safety, schools and infrastructure, and discretionary projects such as the potential Adams Library and Performing Arts Center? What specific steps would you take to ensure Quincy's budget is managed responsibly, especially with a large capital project like the new safety building and current debt?
Loaded question. There's a lot to dissect through here. Right, an initial response to that is the city of Quincy is blessed in a sense that we're a 400-year-old city. The people of Quincy are resilient. Our businesses are resilient. They grow, and what ends up happening is our property values go up, our value of our entire city goes up, and what I feel that I observed over the past few decades is that the city of Quincy has kind of taken advantage of that in the sense that they have taken it and they have gone to spend on projects that don't necessarily benefit everybody. So I'm thinking like the Furnace Brook clubhouse renovation to the $21 million General's Bridge. Like that could have went towards improvement to, actually, I would actually like to see a indoor driving range or something to compete with Granite Links. And to kind of go back to the question to figure out how to manage that budget between discretionary spending. As a new councilor coming in, I want to refrain from making cuts to the budget, and because that I've observed that, and that just makes people more anxious about their jobs. I would actually like to try to grow our economic opportunities within the city, to try to grow our top line, and that's sitting down with our major industry players. We have a lot of corporate headquarters in here, and what do they need from the city of Quincy to not only provide talent but also to make that business grow? And using my corporate background and the connections that I've made over the past decade, I would actually go to Cambridge and Boston and start poaching some big players to come work in Quincy. I mean, we've been supplying the talent for years, and it makes sense to move your operations to Quincy now that we've had a new investment with the ferry, 4 Red Line services, more parking than Boston and Cambridge can offer. And I would go from that approach, so expanding our top line revenue.
Great, thank you. Alie, you're next.
Thank you. So we're going to look at the long-term debt. First of all, $1.6 billion. I look at the city of Quincy as a business, right? This is a business. So businesses, as they grow, they incur debt, and you have times when the debt is high, low, interest rates high, interest rates low. So our fiscal year projected budget at about $500 million. Our second item on the budget that probably is, the biggest part of our budget that we have to pay money on is to take care of our debt obligations. So, I mean, our education is probably our first one. Our debt obligations is our second one. And our third one after that is probably public safety, I would say. So how do you look at those and bring back a return that's going to lower your debt? Well, by taking the $1.6 billion, we should, and we are doing it through the DIF program, where we're increasing more development in the city, especially in the downtown area. Because what we have to do here is bring in, is 65% of the burden is on the residential taxpayers on our debt. If we bring in more housing, and I know nobody wants to hear more housing if you see all the traffic that comes with it, but that's why we have the T. I mean, no, we don't have the T, but the T goes through our community. So if you have more housing that can, the areas of housing that are going to be the most congested areas, you hopefully don't have as many cars because they can walk to the T. We're very unique. We have 4 stations in the city. Most of our major development is happening in the center of our city. So we bring in more residential development, the housing, that creates more tax revenue. The tax revenue, of course, goes towards paying down the debt. And our biggest debt, as I said, is the second one, is our paying down the $1.6 billion every year. So, but we refinanced that debt. That's where we took a big piece of this $1.6 billion, $472 million of it. The city actually went out, got a loan, low interest rates, paid down that obligation that we're required to pay down by 2040 by the state. So we're ahead of the curve there, better than most municipalities, I would say, anywhere. So I look at it as this debt will come down. You know, does it take taxes to pay down the debt? It does. So what do we have to do? We have to find more tax revenue. How do we find more tax revenue? Bring in more developers. Quincy's the hottest city in Massachusetts right now. Developers are coming here for a reason. Families are coming here for a reason. Great education, great police, public safety, teachers. So it's a debt that's controllable. That's what I would say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan?
Hi. So last night I went to attend the city council meeting where the mayor gave a presentation, explained the $1.6 billion debt. He pointed that pension obligation bond you just talked, Alie just talked about that $465 million pension obligation bond. He pointed as a brilliant step to meet the obligation and use the investment return to pay back. But he didn't mention in 2022, the city lost $90 million investment, retiree investment. The market, the market is unpredictable. If you don't consider about the risk, it's reckless. Also, he didn't mention the $3.5 million retirement fund was stolen, and that's because the Quincy Retirement Board didn't update the list of authorized signer months after a director left, and someone being able to mimic her signature and execute that transaction. If this is not blatant negligence, what's that? And such a huge debt, city still spending lavishly on those vanity projects, including over $1 million for that 2 religious controversial statues for the new public safety building, without informing the public. And that building alone is cost $175 million, with luxury copper and slate roof. And the new animal shelter, budget for $7 million, ended up cost $28 million, 4 times more. There are constant, significant cost overrun on city projects. There is a significant lack of physical oversight and transparency. Where the large developers keep getting long-term tax breaks, residents facing ever-increasing property taxes and the rents. So if I get elected, I will push for cutting those vanity projects, put them behind the essential service, and fix the problem in the real life. Like in my campaign trail, residents from Ward 2, Ward 3, Ward 4 share the problems of flooding during the heavy rain. Why city not spending money to fix those problems instead of spending money on statues? So we should really consider about the priority when we decide the spending, and we should bring people back to the table and honestly discuss how their money should be spent, not just be decided by the top few or the mayor himself.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Scott?
Thank you. And I think the question came down to the downgrade that happened. And it did go down. And I think one of the reasons that the rating agencies lowered it was because the reserves weren't met. And I think there's a priority right now that the reserves will improve. But I can also say that we still maintain a AA rating, and that that's an investment grade rating. So that's as good as we're going to get to be able to borrow and to do what we need to do. I'm a lifelong Quincy resident, and I remember me and my dad going to Woolworth's on Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, or Saturday mornings actually, and there was a Sears Roebuck right there that we would go, and I'd go on the, and if it was a really good day, or it would go on the tractors. If it was a really good day, we would end up at Child World, and that was the Disney World of the area, and that was really the heyday of the square and Shoppers World, and it was an incredible area, and my friends and I took great advantage of it, and that took a real toll. Downtown took a real toll, and it really took a downturn, and I think that I recall that there was a comment that someone made that Quincy was one of those areas where it was safer at night than it was during the day, and in that way, I think the city had this opportunity, I think, to really grow. And I think that there were many people involved, Mayor Phelan, Mayor Koch, and really the will of a lot of people who saw a vision here that Quincy could recover. And I think that having this opportunity in front of us to be able to build out infrastructure and to do the roads and the streets and sidewalks and do all the things that we're doing right now and still attract people, because as Alie said, it's really tough to get investors to come to different areas, but people are coming here. I work in downtown Crossing, and every single day I walk in and I watch closing down storefronts. It's incredible to watch every single day. I feel like a Dunkin' Donuts closed the other day, which is unheard of. But that was just closed on a whim, and I think it's because if you let things go and you don't continue to grow and you continue to lose opportunities to other communities, I think that's why it's important that we are staying ahead of this and being a part of it, and that the debt that we've created here, I think, is to make Quincy a better Quincy. And I think that that's really important, and it can be scary sometimes, but I think it's important that we continue going down that road, because if otherwise we're going to go backwards, and I don't want to go backwards. Thank you.
Thanks. And Anne.
Thank you very much for this question. So we did have a meeting last night. I did attend it. It was the mayor was asked by one of the city councilors to come and explain the $1.6 billion worth of debt, which really felt odd to me, because it is an election year and the councilors, for the most part, made all those decisions. And if they can't explain at the doors, maybe they shouldn't be running for office. But the other side of that is the mayor came up and he explained the debt, and he explained the pension, and he explained different things. But the pension obligation bond, it did take I voted no against it, and I'm going to explain why. We did take a good turn where we brought it to PERIC. PERIC was going to be investing it. Currently, the retirement board was investing and was not making the investments that they needed to. I wanted to see all of the retirement, not just the pension obligation bond, but all of the retirement, take it away from Makita and put it all into PERIC. But by doing that, the state's running it, and the state will come back and tell you what you owe if there's a difference. And that's what that $16 million is. And that $16 million is made up of COLAs or salary increases. That 285 potential salary increase is going to change the debt for your pension, and you have to continually make sure that's fully funded. To say we're fully funded because we took out a pension obligation bond is not true. We are constantly having to look at that actuary to make sure that we're making ourselves whole. That's the first problem. The second problem is we were cherry picking last night as to what projects we wanted to talk about. We didn't talk about the investments that we purchased. The city of Quincy took out loans to buy homes and different things down in Ward 1 for our Maritime Center. It never happened. We purchased with COVID money, it's not the debt, but it's still money that we purchased that we could have used for something else, a marina. We haven't done anything with that. We purchased the Monroe building for one purpose, and now we're going to repurpose it for some of these luxury things that we're talking about, which is the presidential library or the cultural center. That I want to make sure people understand that $1.6 billion is separate from those things. We bought a Monroe building for some other use, repurposing it for another dream. But what we really need to do is focus on the core services of what we're supposed to be taking care of. Our roads, our sidewalks, our schools, our public safety, our core mission of what we're doing to manage the city of Quincy, and then go back and look at those potential luxury things that we're doing. We're promised a lot of things. The DIF is going to be zero. It's not going to cost us anything. And by the way, the presidential library was supposed to be zero tax dollars will be spent on the Presidential Library. They did start a nonprofit, but we don't know and we haven't seen how much money is going to be able to be put into that library. And before anything is said yes at the council, we should be examining those things, because when they don't get examined, that's when we get into trouble. The 99-year lease would be another example of missed opportunities for the city of Quincy. So $1.6 billion is a problem, but we need more questions to be asked to make sure that we're investing the right way and moving in the right direction so that the taxpayers don't bear the burden.
Great. Thank you all so much for your answers. Really appreciate it. I'll pass it back to Kathy.
Thanks so much, Jai. I appreciate it. Alie, so we all love Quincy, right? It's our community, and we certainly want our city to be seen in the best light. Recently, the news surrounding Quincy has not been positive. There's been a lot of press, whether it be local newspapers or even the network news. I haven't seen anything nationally, that's for sure, thank goodness yet. But anyway, I'd like to understand your response to recent news stories and lawsuits in Quincy. In particular, what is your response to the mayor's recent statement regarding homosexuality and pedophilia in light of his position on the school committee?
Well, that's a pretty difficult question. Now, how would I respond to that, or what would I do to change his answers? Is that what you're asking here?
That's a question.
No, I would think it's more, what are your responses in regards to?
Have we had some bad press lately? Yes, we have. We've had, some significant bad press. That, of course, was a really significant piece of bad press. And that's the mayor answered that, and I certainly don't want to try and answer for the mayor. But I talk about the Catholic Church. I happen to be Catholic myself. I don't necessarily want to take or say an opinion either way of whether it was homosexuality or pedophilia. I'm not a psychologist. I can't tell you one way or the other on it. But as far as bad press goes, yeah, we've had some bad press too on like the statues, let's say. Right? Did I agree with the mayor's decision to get the statues? I believe that we need to have artwork there. I think that it was wrong not to bring it up in front of the city council and have the city council, weigh in on that, because that's essentially the same thing as, the electorate weighing in on it, right? The constituents. So I wish now that, in retrospect, I wish now that he had done that. I'm sure he wishes that as well. And that's bad press for us. Now it wasn't $1 million. It was about $850,000. But it's okay. So the shipping. All right, we'll call it $1 million. So now the judge has made a decision. So what happens now? Do we spend more money to try and fight that, to appeal it? I wish the judge had said, okay, if you're going to have the statues, you've already paid the money for it. The person that made the statues is not going to say to us, here's your money back. So I wish the judge had made a compromise and say, let's take the statues and put them behind the building. We own them, whether we want to or not. We own them, and it's $1 million, as you're saying. So we're not going to get our $1 million back. So if it's to be the patron saints of the police officers and the firefighters, St. Michael for the police officers and for the 101st Airborne as well, and for the firefighters, St. Florian, right? Florian Hall, so forth. So let's put them behind. Let's take the statues and put them behind the building so the public doesn't see it in the front, and those that work in the building, which would be the safety people, the police, the fire, as they walk into the building every day or every night shift, every mid shift, and they got the statues there, they see it. So the patron saint is there for them. Let's not take it and put it into a warehouse somewhere and just, what are we going to do? We're not going to sell them. We're going to continue to fight for it. Let's go back with a compromise and say, move the statues from the front to the back. We made a mistake. Perhaps we did. But we have them now, so we have to live with it. Put it behind the building. Let the police officers and the firefighters see the statues when they go in and out. Don't leave it in a warehouse somewhere or hope somebody's going to give us, 10 cents on the dollar. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan.
So the recent comment the mayor about blaming homosexuality for pedophilia is totally ignore the fact He even mentioned something like maybe in school that will happen more often. That's bizarre and totally unacceptable and deeply troubling. Currently, so many issues going on, I even don't know where to start. Just like that 2 controversial religious statues. The mayor didn't inform the public, even didn't inform the city council about his decisions to make that 2 statues. And now there is a lawsuit going on. He is using our taxpayers' money to defend something he even didn't inform the public. We didn't agree with that, and we even didn't know your decision. Can you use your money to defend something you even don't know about that? I think from that on, if I get elected, I will push for an ordinance that any decisions about a project over $10,000 without informing the public, if it caused any legal issue, whoever made that decision pay for the legal issue by him or herself. Also about these signatures. So this a group of residents call themselves Quincy Residents for Fair Races. They want to put mayor's 79% pay raise on the November ballot to give voters a chance to have a say. And they connect more than 7,000 signatures. With everyone signed the petition together with printed names and their addresses. And the city threw away 1,800 signatures just because they think that's illegible. They couldn't read from your signatures to your printed names. But if people already printed their names and their address with their signatures, that's clearly showing their intention to support this petition. How can you reject them? They signed the petition the same way they signed their driver's licenses, passports, or legal documents. Those are their real signatures. Discard those signatures violate their fundamental right to petition the government. Okay, so that's my opinion about those 2 current legal issues.
Thank you very much. Scott.
Thank you. I think if we're discussing all 3, clearly any type of abuse is unacceptable, and explaining it or working with, I think the mayor made a mistake, and on behalf of my family, I'm sorry that for those who had to hear that, and I know that the mayor has made his apologies, and I think that for me that's one of those things that I'd rather just extend our apologies and extend our office for that, because I don't share the same thoughts on that subject. So to move on to the statues, that was something that did take us by surprise in the council. It was candidly one of those moments where I actually thought I missed it. And usually what I've found out when we get the outreach from constituents, it's definitely something that you can usually tell by what you hear on emails or on text or whatever, they phone calls, whatever the interaction you are doing with constituents, you can really get a vibe as to where people are. And I think that this was one of those situations where I really felt that there was a split decision. There was some people felt that it was an invasion of church and state. Some felt it was, unnecessary and had that bag depictions. I actually thought it was just way too much money when it was, and that was my comments at the beginning. At the end of the day, there is a public safety building that's going to be a 100-year building, and that when you do factor in that we're on time and on budget, and we are looking at this, if that was part of the overall plan, then I think they needed to do a better job at being more transparent in that. And that was a decision that hopefully they'd take it back, and hopefully they'll work further. And I think that to Susan's point, Richard Ashe and I put forth a a resolution for the Arts Commission to be re-examined, reopened. So when there is public art that needs to be discussed, and we can have a group that will come in and help in the process to get that. So this type of discussion really it's more manageable, and we can do our part to manage it as we move down the. That's my friend Priscilla. It is something that we look forward to, and we can be a part of the process and making that whole process transparent.
Thank you. Nguyen.
Thank you very much. So the question was about our reputation as well. So first, I listened to the Dan Ray interview, and I have to say that I was disturbed beyond. It kept me up, actually, because it was so upsetting to me because of the way it was described. And it wasn't a question. Dan Ray was making a comment. And in every publication I've read, the mayor said he was answering a question. He was commenting on it. He was countering what the interviewer was saying. He was making a comment. The smarter thing would be to not say anything, but he doubled down because he felt that he needed to. And I have differences of opinions of this because I think the church had a big problem, and the priests were the ones that were abusing and are abused children, whether they were boys, girls, or 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, it doesn't matter. We were basically re-damaging people by that statement, and that was the mayor of our city. And not only that, but he's the chair of our school committee. And then to suggest that the schools or guidance counselors or coaches, to bring that in just as doubling down on what he was saying, just is so upsetting to me because one of the basic things that we do here in Quincy is our public school system, and we were talking about the people that take care of our kids, and that's what we were comparing to separate it from the church. And so now we have teachers and guidance counselors and coaches and kids, and their leader of the school system is the mayor, and this is what he thinks, and this is not how we want to project our feelings on that. Because and then to say if I offended somebody, you did more than offend. That's a problem there. And I'm not just speaking as a resident that I heard, and I was very upset. When the school committee came, the school committee all said something, and when it went to city council, it fell on deaf ears. Nobody said anything. Nobody brought it up. And I have to say that was also alarming to me too, because this is something where it takes courage to stand up and actually say it was wrong, and the apology needs to be more than what that was. But then we move on to the statues. The statues, the council was blindsided on. They didn't even know that the money was spent. I was on the council. I questioned the roof. I questioned the copper. I questioned the slate. I questioned the expense that we were going in. I can tell you those statues were not in the budget. There were no line items for a statue. And if I was on the council, I would have been far more upset than to say, who leaked the story. That was something that was really disturbing to me. And when we come to the salaries, it's the same thing. It is falling on deaf ears, and the constituents and the people of the city of Quincy are organizing and saying, we've had enough. So what we really need to do is really encourage people to come out and vote and know that our reputation of our city does matter, and it's the people we put in these offices that lead us, because it's not stopping at the corners of Quincy. People are talking about it throughout the state and further, and that is our reputation. So if we want our kids to get good colleges, go into good colleges, or to do things and feel reputable from the community that we come from, we better start putting people in office that remember that we're working for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. And Andrew?
And regarding the mayor's comments, disappointment, to sum it up in one word, and it's a disservice to people who are abused. And as an ally myself, we're trying to build bridges as city leaders, and I think it just calls for a bigger need for young people to be involved in local politics, because it's to remind the older generation that your words have impact, man. Like, you can't be, what are you doing? You're literally opening up wounds again, and you're doubling down on it by like a half apology. Like, it's actually quite upsetting. And regarding the signatures, there's already distrust of the government at the federal level. And now when there are more additional headlines that the city of Quincy is actually covering up names and discarding signatures when people took the time out of their day to even study the problem, learn the problem, and say, okay, maybe this is wrong. I agree with this petition. I'm going to sign it. And then it goes to the city, and they just throw them out. And it's not a good look for Quincy, and it definitely is a call that the change is needed in the city.
Thank you, Andrew.
And so this brings us to our final question. I'll start with Susan. The preliminary election had a turnout of only 9%. What have you done during your campaign to reach out to the community and encourage better turnout, particularly in underserved communities?
So one of my major motivation to run this campaign is to bring awareness to people, to encourage them to pay attention about what's happening in the local government. And during the campaign, my volunteers and I have knocked on doors in 27 of Quincy's 31 precincts. We spread in the message and to every corner of the city. And especially in those no turnout neighborhoods, we are often ignored by others, because I believe everyone deserves to be informed and heard. And when I talk to those residents, a lot of them expressed frustration and concerns about issues in Quincy, but they don't know what to do. And I told them, your vote is your voice. And a lot of them even don't know how to register to vote, even though they are citizens. So I showed them the Massachusetts Register Voters website and tell them what to do. And also my campaign website has a dedicated page to show how to vote in multiple languages. So people don't go out to vote also because they feel disconnected and hurt. So what I would like to do is, even after this election, no matter what the result is, I will keep devote my time and energy to help register voters and inform them what's happening in the city and encourage them to get involved and help them solve problems, at least bring the attention to the cities about their problems. So I think when people feel their engagement really brings some change to, they will be more interested in voting. So that's my
Thank you.
plan.
Scott.
Thank you. And so I have been involved with politics now for 20 plus years at the state level, county level, and local level. And in all that time, I don't recall a time where it's ever been this divisive. And I think that part of that is just the fear of speaking out. I think social media has a long responsibility for that. You don't have to answer for some of the responses that you have, and that it's unfortunate because I think people would get more involved if they weren't so turned off by it. And I think that that's one of the challenges that does come with it, because you want people to engage, but you also know that there is that challenge of, am I going to be pigeonholed or put into a box that's not necessarily how I feel, but how it was perceived and how it went down. So what we've tried to do is try to lighten things up a lot in our, I think Andrew's done a great job in his social media, and a lot of how we present things, but we've tried to really engage the voters. We've tried to reach out with questions like, what are the things that you're looking at? Where do you want us to be? And really just have fun with it, because there is so much intensity right now at the national level, at the state level, and the local level right now it's running pretty hot. So if we want to really engage people, we need to engage them personally and not make them afraid to come out and be a part of what's happening in their neighborhoods and what's happening in their city. Because a lot of times what happens is we'll find ourselves excited to be a part of things, but the moment that you may misstep or missay something, that can turn into something that really isn't meant to be. So if we can somehow find a way to engage people and make it fun again, or have people really want to be involved with it, that's I think part of the challenge that goes on, and that's what we're trying to engage by helping people.
Okay, so I'm up.
So when it comes to low voter turnout, and a lot of people think it's apathy because people are just too busy, don't have any interest in it, but really it's that they're disenfranchised. You know, when I come out and vote, is my vote going to matter? I signed a petition and you're discounting my name. That is really pushing people away from doing the very thing that we want them to do, which is engage. So if we really want people to come out and vote, not only do we as a city have to let people know that voting is happening when it's happening. They could be using QATV to push the message out from City Hall if they truly wanted more people to be engaged, but it's almost silent in the city of Quincy. You might see a sandwich board that says vote today, but you can't get down the street to get to where you're supposed to vote. So there's problems that we need to fix when it comes to our local community as well. But going back, like Quincy Votes, going out and doing what you're doing, that's a key player of trying to make sure people know that this is happening. And then where I meet people is I've always done this from the day I started. I knock on your door and I talk to you. And I still knock on people's doors and I still talk to them and I still go up to them and I say, hi, I'm Ann Mahoney. They're like, I know who you are. And I'll think is a good thing or a bad thing, because we can discuss either side. But it's engaging in that communication. And sure, there are people who, when you talk to them, they may not like you at the beginning, but they might, once they get to know you, realize that you're closer on the same page because you're listening to them. And when you have you asked earlier, public forums. Public forums are another way. If people feel as though their voice matters, they're going to come out and speak. They know that you're engaged. They know that you're weighing in the information that you're taking when you're making decisions, both at the council level, the school committee level, and at the administration level. They'll come out and vote. But I have to tell you, in the last 18 years that I've been elected, 18 years ago, there was a different city council. People asked questions, they were engaged. Voter turnout was different 18 years ago. 18 years later, and you can say it's national, you can say it's social media, you can say whatever it is, but what I can tell you is people feel disenfranchised in our city. 47% of the vote when I ran for mayor, they didn't agree with what was going on. I offered to sit down and not explain for the individual people, but explain what that 47% really is looking for. And it's the same thing. It's public forums, it's engagement, it's knowing what's happening, it's being involved in our community. They're just enfranchised. So you're seeing instead activists come up, and what are they being called? Naysayers. You can't call somebody a naysayer because they have questions if you don't have public forums. So by engaging people and setting that democracy and bringing people back to the table to listen to what we're supposed to be doing in government, I believe that we could see voter turnout change tremendously. But the efforts of Quincy Votes also helps, and the efforts of QATV and the efforts of all of the new candidates who are running are going to help as we move forward. So thank you very much for that question.
Thanks. Andy?
Sure. I'm going to target the underserved community first, and particularly the Asian community, and kind of understanding where our immigrants come from. And majority of it is Chinatown. We were labeled as Chinatown too at some point. And it's a lot of Chinese immigrants and Vietnamese immigrants that escaped from formerly communism, where previously in their country, if they spoke up against their government, they were put to jail or even death. And that is kind of scary. So it's like a slowly layered approach to kind of get them to participate, but it's also reminding them that your vote has power, and with voter participation so low right now, if you do the conversion, your one vote counts for 11 people. And when I remind people that, they're like, okay, maybe I will vote this year. And Asian Americans often feel like they are removed from government, and I like to say that to feel like you belong here, you vote like you belong here. And I even put that on a giant poster outside of a Chinese grocery store, and it's C-Mart actually. If you go by C-Mart, you'll see John Adams and Abigail Adams using AI art that says vote like you belong here. And that was one way that I was trying to tackle it. And the other piece of it, which is getting more people to vote, I started telling children to say, if your parents ever give you a hard time on that quiz grade, you remind them that collectively, the adults of Quincy scored less than 10% turnout on voting day. And that hopefully will kick things into gear and leave it to the kids to hold their parents accountable to show up on election day because not every country gets to vote.
Thank you.
Sure.
Alie?
I would concur with Andrew. So what have I done? My daughter-in-law is of Asian descent, and she helped me with, on my signs, that it's please vote on one side in English, and on the other side, it's please vote, and it's in Mandarin. And I couldn't read it, obviously, because I don't speak Mandarin, but we have a 40% Asian population here in the city of Quincy. What percent of the Asian population votes, I'm not sure of. I think that the older generation, and Andrew, you might be able to tell me better, or maybe my daughter-in-law could tell me better, is that the older generation that may have came over here from communism, they're almost afraid to vote. So how do we get them, I guess, over that hurdle of not being afraid to vote? I would say it's the younger generation, your generation, that are saying to the parents, you can vote and they're not going to hurt you. This is a free country still, and try and encourage it as much as we possibly can. Now, Quincy Votes is terrific. You've only been doing this for a couple of years. You're making some traction. I would think that in the city council level, if I were elected, I would propose that we put some type of a line item in there and try and give you some money, so you can go out and promote it and not just be volunteers, that you could actually have, field days that we would sponsor, and voter registration days that the city of Quincy would not only sponsor with volunteers, but we could actually put some money towards it and advertise it a little bit better. Having elections on the day after a long weekend for a primary, I know that they don't want to do it when the school, is open, but I just don't get that part of it there. I don't think that helped the turnout doing it at the end of the summer on a long weekend. I think we should probably have it, not on long weekends in the end of it. But so I guess the only thing I can say is education, communication, and most importantly, transparency. So they shouldn't feel uncomfortable approaching their representatives, their councilors, with questions or asking to speak to the city council. Let's get a schedule once a month. When they meet, we're going to spend the first hour or 2 hours of the meeting, or just dedicate the whole meeting to public discussion, and know that it's on the schedule. So, all right, we have too many people this month, let's do it next month. Through that, education, transparency, communication, and remind everybody, your vote matters. Your vote matters. Because democracy doesn't work without it, and I kind of preach that all the time. Especially when I have people that'll say to me and criticize me, they'll say, well, where do you vote? And they go, well, I don't know, I haven't voted, I don't know, I'm not sure where I vote at. And you're going to criticize me on, I'm knocking on your door on a Saturday morning, you don't think it's a good idea? Then you can't criticize me because you've never voted. So I scold those that do that. So.
Thank you all so much for answering. We'll shift into final closing statements.
Yep. So Susan, why don't we start with you and we'll go around.
Okay.
And there'll be 2 minutes each, just like before.
Thank you.
I believe actions speak louder than words. Well, I'm still a city employee at the Thomas Crane Library. I helped organize the campaign to repeal mayor's 79% pay raise and the city councilor's 50% pay raise, something few people dared to do. After the petition fell short, I initiated an open letter campaign rallying the Asian community, urge city councilors to hold public meetings and reconsider the races. Within 3 weeks, we collected more than 400 signatures and about 300 of them from Asian residents. I was leading without a title, driven only by principle. And during the past years, I have been listening to residents speaking at public meetings and advocating policies that put residents first. On my campaign trail, my volunteers and I locked the doors in every corner of the city, spreading word, bring awareness, and especially on those no turnout neighborhoods. It's because I really believe all people deserve to be heard. I came to US in 1999 for postdoc research and have lived in Quincy for 14 years. I met my husband here and married at Quincy City Hall. I enjoy Quincy's rich history and natural beauty and enjoy being a part of its vibrant Asian community. I'm not a part of political establishment. I'm running because I want to help Quincy to become a place where everyone can enjoy. It's a fair, accountable city for all. And
Thank you.
thank you.
Scott.
Oh, it's me. We're going there. Thank you for this event. This has been an amazing event, and I'm very excited for the next couple of weeks when the rubber will definitely meet the road. The work will be put in, and the work that needs to be put in. I believe Quincy is at the tipping point. I believe that we are at a point where it takes serious leadership. I think it takes input from its constituents, and I believe that we need to create a community where 3 generations of families are able to stay here, thrive here, and to build their families here. That means that grandparents can find a way to find opportunities to help offset fixed costs in their regular living. That families can come in and create maybe an in-law apartment dwelling unit that will be able to have their families stay in this city, and that our younger generation has the opportunity to take advantage of some of the options and affordable housing type opportunities that we do have here that are set aside, that we need to communicate better within this city to make sure that people know about it. I want this job. I believe that I can and have done a good job. I have no desire to go any higher than what I'm doing. What I'm doing right now, I feel, is making a difference on the ground, and I feel like I'm making a difference for families. And if there are any items that we need to review or go over or have a chance to make a difference in, I want to be that person that makes a difference, and I really want to ask for your vote because I believe I can make a difference in the city.
Thank you. Anne?
So I'm up. Thank you very much. I just wanted to start by thanking you both for being our conversation piece to keep this conversation going. And I want to thank all of the candidates that are running, but not just the ones that are running for council at large, but the ones that are running for ward council. We have a race in every ward with the exception of Ward 2, and we have a race for school committee. And we have a dire need for people to come out and vote because you have a choice. And I'm going to ask people to really take that into consideration. I'm asking for your vote November 4th because I believe that I do bring a strong voice to the City Council. I'm not afraid to ask tough questions. I'm independent, and I think those questions lead to better projects. I've always believed that. I'm not asking questions for a gotcha moment. I'm asking questions to make our community stronger and better. So I believe if we have this opportunity and the voters come out and we have that choice and we can change the dynamics just a little bit, we can have a better community for everybody. So this is Quincy's opportunity to have your voices heard loud and strong. So I hope everybody's listening. I hope everybody's watching, and I hope everybody comes out and votes on November 4th. And please cast a vote for me, Anne Mahoney, on November 4th. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Andy?
Yep. Thank you to Quincy Votes for hosting this. And as a newcomer, as a young person running, I do not have the resources. My friends do not certainly have the resources. They weren't blessed to buy a house at reasonable prices. And it's not that many people that are in elective office to kind of remember what it's like to be a young person and trying to make a name for yourself in a career-wise, and also trying to figure out jobs and applying to different jobs and not hearing back. Quincy right now has a groupthink problem, and groupthink is when people agree to just agree. It's what killed Blockbuster. It halts innovation, and right now Quincy can't afford to have groupthink in its city politics. And all it takes is even one new person to go in there, and I'm not politically connected into the state or the city or federally at all. I'm just an employee. My families were just employees. We didn't come from much, and we worked our butt off to be here. And at the end of the day, I'm here to represent you, and I hope I can earn your vote on November 4th.
Thank you. And Alie?
Thank you. Thank you to Quincy Votes. I appreciate it. So my reason for running is I think I could bring to the council some experience. I would probably be the oldest council person if elected. I'm 66 years old. I've reached the point in my life that I'm not afraid to ask questions, uncomfortable questions. I'm not afraid to expose things. I'm independent. I don't behold to anybody. I don't need the pension. I don't need the money for the job. I'm doing it because I love this city and I want to give back to this city. I like to create a more transparent city council, a more transparent city, a more welcoming city as far as opening up to public discussions, as we discussed before. And I hope you'll vote for me for city council at large. I'd like to think I could bring a real independent voice, and they're going to have trouble shutting me up, to be very candid, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
I appreciate everybody's commentary. It's been informative and engaging, so thank you for that. So I'm just going to wrap up and talk to the citizens of Quincy. All right. November 4th is Election Day. Research has shown that if you make a plan to vote, you're more apt to vote. So please make a plan. We have early voting starts this Saturday. It's at City Hall. I think it's 8:30 to 2:30 on Saturday. It continues till next week, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 2:30. If you want an absentee ballot, you can go to the city clerk's office and vote. Monday through Friday, from 8:30 to 4:30 and until noon on November 3rd. So you can do that absentee ballot now. Just go to the city clerk's office. The bottom line is there are many ways to vote. You can vote in person on November 4th, vote early, or vote via absentee ballot. Another important day to keep in mind is that the last day to register to vote is this Friday, October 25th. So if you are not registered to vote, please visit the Quincy Votes website and we can direct you over to the state website where you can register. And really, if you have any questions, please leverage the quincyvotes.org website. All right, there's some great information. As I mentioned earlier, the candidates have completed questionnaires. Because to be informed is, and using your voice, it's important. So thank you all. Thank you, Jay. It's great to see you again, and we appreciate your partnership.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right. So I think that concludes it. And again, thank you all for participating. I know your schedules are busy, and we're super thankful for you to be here.
Thank you.
All right.